Well, today is Monday, June 27th, 2011. And today we are going to be talking with Evelyn Mareschal. How are you this morning?
Fine.
And did I pronounce your name correctly, or would you like to tell me how you say your name?
I say Mareschal.
You say
Marshall's
Mareschal.
fine.
Okay. And could you tell us your birthday?
October the 11th, 1932.
And where were you born?
I was born in down off of Missouri Bottom Road. At that time it was Florescent, and my father and mother had a farm there. It was it was my grandmother's home originally. My grandmother lived with us, I understand, until I guess I was about 7 years old, and then she passed on. And it was very comfortable for those standards, and Dad farmed, and we had quite a few acres, I think 40 or 50 some acres.
And what were your parents' names?
Oh, Manuel and Matilda.
Ben?
Manuel, M-A-N-U-E-L, and Matilda, M-A-T-H-I-L-D-A. And she was a cousin to Ed.
Was she?
Dad.
What was your father's last name?
Aubusson, A-U-B-U-C-H-O-N.
Okay. And your mom's?
Matilda.
Your mom's
Last name
was?
Polidge, P-A-L-I-T-Z-S-C-H.
Yeah, I've heard that name around a lot. And Aubusson, of course.
Yes.
You had land all the way to the Missouri River, I think, didn't you?
We didn't, but there was someone.
And someone in the family?
And somebody in the family.
Very neat. So you mentioned something about a later date, like 1943 or something, when you came to Bridgeton. Is that when Bridgeton came to you?
I don't know when Bridgeton was developed, because it was always, what I know was just Missouri Bottom Road, and I can't even think of, I guess it was just Bridgeton we lived at, excuse me. And Dad decided to move out of the Bottoms. He had farm ground there also, and Mother's mom and dad lived on Tossick, and she decided that would be a nice place, and so Dad did find a home there, and it was where they originally, when they moved, where they stayed. And it was a two-story home, which before we had a two-story, but it was a small 2 up and 2 down. This was kind of like 4 down and 4 up. So we moved there, and Dad always had, hard people that stayed with us and helped him do the farming in the Bottoms. So, and they came along, one of them came along with us, and he stayed with us until he married. And we had...
That was just a neighbor, or?
No, just a friend.
Friend.
And it's a long story.
Do you remember his name?
Yes, it was Bob Madison, and we lived off of Missouri Bottom Road. Mother was taking cream in her, whatever, I can't even think of the name to call it, to St. Charles, and she saw this boy walking. And my sister and I was in the back seat, and she said, "We're gonna pick him up, give him a ride." So as he got in the car, and he said he was going farther down because there was a relation that he wanted to go visit. And Mother said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "I'm from, not Kansas, but an area around there." And so Dad said, when Mother brought him home, Dad said, "Do you want to work?" And he said yes. So he stayed with us, lived with us on Missouri Bottom Road. And when we moved up here to Bridgeton, Why, then he stayed with us there until he got married, and I don't know how many years it was, but it was quite a few.
Wow.
And his wife was a real nice person. We knew, Dad and Mother knew his parents, the Lidikins, from Florissant. And so we kept in contact with them until they moved up the country, not Herman, but a little bit farther up. And then they moved up there and stayed up there the rest of their life, but they did live in Florissant. She was a school teacher. Bob had a business of television repair, sold televisions and repaired them.
Do you know where the business was? Was that in Florissant also?
Yes, but to tell you the street now, I know where it's at, but I couldn't tell you exactly the street.
Sounds kind of familiar.
Oh, are you?
You said when you moved, could you tell us where you moved to?
On Taussig.
You moved on to Taussig?
Taussig, yes,
Okay.
here, right here in Bridgeton.
Okay, and that's where you live now?
Yes, that's where we built. Dad gave us acreage, enough to build a house, and then my sister was married before I was, so she's got one plot, and I live next to her. Her and mother and father live next to her.
So where you were previously was further towards the river?
Down, almost to
Missouri.
Chavanier.
Okay,
So,
I understand. Yeah, a lot of those houses were knocked down in '93, I guess, with the flood.
down
On Charbonnier.
Charbonnier.
Yeah,
Well, Dad's brothers live farther down there on off of Charbonnier on Missouri Bottom Road. And those two homes was just knocked down, I guess, in the last 5 years.
Is that right? So you're away from, you don't have a lot of close neighbors.
That's right.
Where did the kids go to school? Or you had kids, right?
Yes.
Could you tell us about your children?
They all went to it was St. Mary's, St. Lawrence the Martyr.
Okay.
And then the boy that went to high school went to DeSmet. And the two girls went to, I can't think of the name.
What were your children's names?
Karen and Linda.
Karen is the older one?
Yes,
And when was Karen born? Roughly. 40s, 50s?
50, let's see. She's 50 now, so.
Okay, so she was born in '61.
And then the boy was the oldest, and he was born 3 years before her. And Linda was born
Okay, and the boy was named?
Gary,
Gary.
so he's the same age as Matt.
Okay. So he was born in '57, more or less?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
And then I
And
had,
they both they started school at St. Mary's?
Gary started at St. Mary's, but then went to St.
Okay,
Lawrence.
so he transferred over to St. Lawrence?
Lawrence, and then the girls went to St. Lawrence, and then they went to high school. It was a Catholic high school, and I can't even remember.
So Gary went to DeSmet, you said?
DeSmet,
Okay.
And then Ronnie is the youngest boy.
Oh, you have another boy?
Yes, and he went to St. Lawrence also.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember what year he was born?
No,
1960 something?
I should have.
That's okay. And he went all the way through St. Lawrence then?
Yes, and then he went to the Catholic school
Did he go
in
to
Florissant. What was that one name?
Sacred Heart, maybe?
It's a high school.
High school. Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas.
That's
Okay.
right.
Yeah, I think one or two of Jenny's sisters went there.
Yes, I think so. Some of the younger,
Yeah, younger kids.
I should have had all this put down on tape for those kids' birthdays. They'll kill me. I can't even think how old they are. But it comes and goes, Now I got grandkids, and that's hard for me to remember even their birthdays.
How many grandkids do you have?
8.
8? And Some boys and girls both?
Oh, yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 boys, no, 4 girls, I guess, and 5 boys. Let's see here.
4 and 5?
Yes. No, that makes 9, that can't be right.
Okay.
Let's see.
You know you have 8.
Boy, I'm not prepared for this.
Okay.
Big that far back. Karen and Linda. And-
Okay, well, you don't need to tell us all the names, but you have 4, you have a total of 8 grandchildren.
Yes.
Okay, and do they still live here in the area?
They all live in, Ron has no children, and Gary has 2 boys and a girl,
Mm-hmm.
and Karen has a boy and a girl, and Linda has 2 girls and a boy.
Okay, and do they mostly live in St. Louis
In
area?
St. Charles.
In St.
They all
Charles?
live in
Okay,
St.
so you get to visit a lot?
Yes.
Have overnight visits? and
That's
stuff?
what I had last night, that's
Yeah.
why I'm not prepared. I thought I was
Yeah.
prepared, but not.
Well, we have 6 grandchildren and they're all out of town, so we envy you.
Yes, that's true.
It's nice for them to be close.
Yes. I talked to Jenny, we used to in church when I'd see her in the morning, and she'd tell me about going on her trips to
Yeah,
see this one or that one.
yeah, yeah, we just had one of those, we just came home a few days ago from Cleveland. Is your family still involved in farming in Bridgeton?
No, their dad died
Okay.
and many years ago.
And your husband's name is?
Robert.
Robert. And he's not involved in
No,
farming?
he worked for the airline, so
Oh,
as
okay.
a mechanic. And he was there, since, I guess, 50, and he retired. I think he's retired about 10 or 11 years now.
Did he work for one specific airline?
Delta.
Delta.
He was just talking to a gentleman, that's why I couldn't get back to you. He was talking to him for over an hour, and he's from, this other gentleman's from Atlanta.
Now, there's a street with your last name on it, not far from here.
Abishan Road.
I was thinking of Mareschal.
Mareschal, yes.
Mareschal.
Well,
How did that come about?
well, do you know Charles Mareschal, Josephine and Charlie, and they had a daughter, and they lived first of all, they lived on,
Where DePaul Hospital is now.
yes, but before that, they lived in Bridgeton off of, there's no road there, the airport,
Oh, Natural
cut it
Bridge.
off. And they lived there for many years, and then Mr. Marshall bought a little piece of ground there, and that's where let's see, the restaurant, what restaurant is
Oh,
it?
the Ponderosa.
Ponderosa.
And Jenny's dad always mentioned cabbages when we went by. Is that what they grew over there?
Cabbage?
Did they grow cabbage?
I don't remember exactly, they grew quite a bit of
A lot of different
produce.
vegetables. So there
See, Dad, when he farmed, it was mostly corn
were.
and turnips and things like that, but no, Charles, he raised different vegetables, because he went downtown and marketed.
So he was a truck farmer. Yeah, Jenny's family did a lot of that.
Yeah, they sure did. But it's funny because Jenny's father is my mom's cousin.
Okay. So his mom was a Brannicky and his dad was a banker. So
That's
which
my grandma, Polly,
Oh,
was a
Polly.
banker.
She was a banker.
So they had many good times together. I understand as a child, she'd tell different stories like all mothers do. She used to tell that they walked this far, and I think Ed and them had a horse, or I shouldn't say a horse, that they'd ride. They'd give the girls Alma, and Mom was the same age, and so they put the girls on the horses, and then they'd ride all the way over to Dorset Road to where they went to grade school. So I think that was kind of interesting way back in those days. sounds like a jet going over.
I don't know what's going on with that noise, but the trees aren't blowing around, so it's not the wind.
Probably a jet.
That's okay. So you went to St. Mary's and then St. Lawrence
No,
then?
I went to Garrett School.
You, okay.
And that
Garrett School, where
was
was that?
off of Missouri Bottom Road. And
Okay.
that,
Was that a Florissant school then?
pardon?
Was that a Florissant school?
No,
or St.
just
Louis County?
yeah,
or-
St. Louis County.
Uh-huh.
We'd walk from the back of the farm, a bunch of us, about 15, and we'd walk up the hill, you know, at that time it was all
Mhm.
dirt roads.
Well, was St. Mary's the nearest church for you then?
Yes. that
So you
was-
went there?
And then the priest farm, you know, where the seminary is.
Yeah.
Okay, then there was a little small church there. And Dad liked that. He didn't
Uh-huh.
like St. Mary's. So when he would go to church, we'd go to the
St. Stanislaus, yeah,
mhm.
which is something else now.
Yes, it is. It is.
At least they have the building.
Well, we went in there several years ago, and I can't remember what they had anymore. It's been quite a few years, and it was nice to go back in
They
there.
had a nice museum in there, but they've relocated all of that stuff
Oh, did they?
someplace else, yeah.
Oh,
I
Yeah,
forget
that-
exactly where.
that was nice because they took us around, you know, and they had, you know, little snacks to eat and things
Mhm.
like that. But we always enjoyed that, and in those days, Mother, which was Lutheran, and a neighbor was Catholic,
Mhm.
and they decided to take us to not St. Ferdinand, but to where the brothers taught, and get them to see if they would come to Garrett and give us religion classes.
Ah.
So those brothers, well, that was great for them because they loved to walk. And so they would walk and give us our religion and then walk back. And they, you know, always have a prayer book or something in their hand. And
Mhm.
we really did like them. They were right. And one of the brothers is the parents that got killed right there by the seminary.
A lot of traffic.
No. By,
Well, this was years ago? I mean,
yeah, I think I don't want to say it, but I think it was somebody in the family.
uh-huh.
And that's what we heard. We were young, so. And I did know the name, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
Because he was really a nice brother.
So later on, when you lived on Gist Road,
Tassie,
on Tosick, I'm sorry. When you lived on Tosick Road, where did you go to church then? Did you go to St. Mary's or was that
yes.
St. Lawrence?
Well, at first it was St. Mary's and then it was St. Lawrence.
Yeah.
We always did go to
So a lot of things changed when
yes.
the airport came.
That's right. That was a big change.
Yeah.
Changed everybody.
Still going on.
Yes, it is. It really is.
We're going to a meeting tonight at the new city hall, you know, there was nothing wrong with the old city hall,
No.
but, it's not,
That's quite
it's
a
not ours
building,
anymore,
isn't it?
yeah, they have more space now for, things that they have to do, so I'm sure.
Boy, it seemed like that other city hall was fine enough for all the people that attended. I mean, a lot of meetings, they didn't have
Yeah,
that many people that came.
well, they'll have more room now, so I guess that's what they're after. And they didn't have much choice, so.
That's for sure. They change a lot, don't they? That has to be Jeff's.
Oh, okay. I think you're right.
Ours shakes like that.
Yeah. They're testing a brand new F-18 probably.
Oh, that could be, that could be.
So, where were you married?
At St. Mary's,
Okay, and do you remember what year that was?
1952.
52. And I'm sure you
May.
remember your wedding day. Anniversary.
Yes, I do. That church was a very old church,
Mhm.
small, but it was something different. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there's country churches, and they're all maybe small, not so humongous like
Yeah.
the churches now. Yes, it was, and it was a good day. It was a nice day.
Mhm.
Well, no rain, nothing. So that was a nice, like I said, the church wasn't that big, but that's the first time I was ever on the altar as I grew up.
To refer to the beginning, you were born in a time when not everybody was born in hospitals. Do you know if you were born at home or in a
Yes, I
hospital?
was born at home.
Yeah.
Mhm. But that's all the farther I know. I don't know, you know, who helped mother out or anything like that. My sister was older.
But all of your children were probably born in
The
hospital.
hospital.
Right.
That's how much times change, right?
Mhm. Where did you go?
To the hospital,
Mhm.
to St. Joe and St. Charles.
Yeah, that seems to have been pretty popular around there.
Pretty popular.
Yeah.
That was a big, you know, I mean, that covered a lot of territory,
Uh-huh.
even over here. Jane, and I'm sure Jane and probably, maybe not, maybe Jane Banger probably went over there. I'm sure Eddie probably went over there.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, well, it's different without what we call the old bridge now.
Yes.
You know, you want to go that way, and
It
that's
just
not a
seemed-
choice
yes.
anymore.
You know, did they knock that old bridge down completely?
Oh yeah, it's gone.
But when you go down, that's not Main Street. But you know where it came out?
Mhm. Yeah,
Is that still, I don't, never go down that far.
it's still a shopping district, and
Yes, I
and it's,
know that, but I mean, you know, where the bridge came out, I can't remember
Uh-huh.
how they.
It was on and I don't know if it's called Main Street or First Street, or must be
Yeah, I think
Second.
second.
I think that second
could
must be the
yes,
Main Street.
By this.
And that still has Hunings and you know, some of the stores that you're
Yeah,
in.
that's for sure. And that big old, what was it, the courthouse and that
Mhm.
up
Yeah,
there now.
that's up on the hill, yeah.
Right, that old one is up on the hill.
Yeah.
My daughter parked fairly close to that, whatever they had down on Main Street. She said, Mom, you think you can walk up where we're parked? Oh, yes.
The St. Charles Library has a movie that you can check out to watch on your DVD player at home. That is a tour of the city of St. Charles in 1955.
Oh, really?
And they go through every neighborhood, and they show the schools and the businesses, and because it has a couple of factory tours. They show how the St. Charles Dairy made their milk and ice cream and everything.
But that's where Mother was, when I told you she picked
Uh-huh.
up this boy. See, she would bring the milk in those
Uh-huh.
5-gallon
Over to the dairy.
over to the dairy.
Wow.
That's exactly right. And sometimes they had one, sometimes she had two. And that was her job to bring it over, unless she had something else to do, then I guess Dad would take it over there. He knew quite a few people over, you know, the town,
Yeah,
old
uh-huh.
town. And he bought, like his cattle from, they were Jewish people, and they had, you know, stockyards and that. And he'd go over there and look at pigs and cows or whatever he
Mhm.
needed, but they were in St. Charles also.
Yeah, a lot of traditions just
Just fade away, don't
Like
they?
look at the funeral homes, you know.
That's
Bowie's are still
there. Changing.
drawing people from across the river.
That was it, you know, they were really nice people,
Mhm.
I mean, always, and that young boy, when he took over, he was really,
Mhm.
you know, a nice person. I mean, Mom and Dad always felt close to him, you know, not close, but I mean, somebody that you could talk to,
Mhm.
things like that.
Well, where's Judy when I need her?
Pardon?
Where's Judy when I need her?
What's the next question?
Yeah.
Well, if you'd rather me come, I'm sorry that I messed this up. I mean, I just thought, since she's been asking so often, and I thought this was a good day, and I thought it rained, and Bob would be able to help come, because he can remember, well, wasn't raised here, he was raised up on Dunn Road, but he was closer to Betty Brannick's mother and father's farm that was up there. And so I thought, well, he would be there available. No, I gotta do this and I gotta clean this basement out. Well, he did. I mean, we never did have water in our basement, but it was there this last rain. I don't know why, it must have been blowing and it got caught in, in the basement door or something. There was water. I was really surprised when I went down there, and oh my goodness, I knew he threw my little rugs out that I have by the washing machine and that, but I didn't think they'd be that soaking wet, but they were.
Well, that's why they call it weather.
That's right, that's right.
So, did anybody in your family, or was anyone in your family affected by the tornado that we had here in town recently?
No.
They're all out of harm's way. Yeah.
All out of harm's way.
Yeah, I think we were about 1.5 miles at the closest. That was close enough for me.
I was in one when I was smaller and lived in, like I said, off on the Sur Bottom Road. And I mean to tell you, the barns lived, the metal off the roofs, and that was all over in Dad's horse lot and cow lot and everything else, but it never hurt the house, but it damaged, the farm, barns.
Do you remember how old you were when that happened?
I'd say about 6 or 7, maybe most 8 years old or something, because I can remember it.
So before 1940 or earlier then?
Yeah, earlier than that, because the water had, in those days you didn't have storm windows and that, but I remember Mother, when we came in the house, right, it was all in the windowsills, the rain had got caught in there. Well, it was down on the floor also, but I mean, it was stopped in there when she finally came home and then got into it, because we was all over in the barn and every place else. We had a 2-story house, but I don't know where we went. I can't remember where she put us, but it was bad. That I can remember as a kid. I think I was scared more than what if. Well, I would be still scared now if it happened, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant experience, regardless of how
No,
close you are.
No, it's not. It really isn't. How many interviews did you say you had so far?
Oh, we started this program at the beginning of last year. Oh, and that's the first lady that we interviewed. You reminded me about by talking about the St. Stanislaus, because she lives right over by there. You probably know Elvira.
Yes.
Banker Wiedenstein.
We saw her yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Breakfast over at Denny's. Sometimes after Sunday Mass we go different places. And she was just walking out, and she's 95,
She's a sweetie, isn't she?
Isn't she? And my sister worked with her at the bank many years ago, St. John's. That was Helen's first job, I think. And I think we was up here already at that chair. I'm sure we were.
When you say Helen, who do you mean?
That's my sister.
Oh, okay.
And so she got to know Elvira real well, and she worked at St. John's, so that was even relation to Elvira, and that, I think, I can't remember who. Who, Brannicky, is that who owned St. John's Bank at that time?
Well, Walter Brannicky, I think, was one of the founders.
Mhm.
But they're all cousins.
Yes, they sure are.
And we also, sometime last year, we interviewed Jerry Hahn. You probably know him.
Gary?
Jerry, I'm sorry.
Jerry? Yes,
Yeah, and his mom is Bernice Pilgrim,
That's right.
Okay.
That's-
or was, and he gave us some photographs of Bernice and Elvira together as children.
Yes.
And
Well,
they're-
did Elvira live right down here?
Pardon?
Didn't Elvira as a child live right?
I think so, yeah.
I think
yeah.
so. That
Where
was
the
part of
dentist
the
office is.
farm. Yes,
yeah.
yes, I think so. Yes, this was all,
Uh-huh.
like I said, relation to Mom, you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, the Hans
think-
had a lot of ground out where Earth City
Down
is.
in Earth City, yes, they sure did, yes.
And-
They were
and-
nice. George was nice. He lived down here, but there was one of them, I think, that lived off of, Missouri Bottom Road as it went up, you know, before the airport took it.
Uh-huh.
And then I think one of them lived up there at one time. I can't remember which one it was. George. No, George lived down here.
Yeah, it's really a small,
Well,
Community,
you don't think
everybody's
about it
related
no
to
more,
somebody else.
you know, and then
Yeah.
you know where they lived at one time, and
Yeah.
then it's all ruined, and
you know,
the airport took over half of it, built all them buildings now. Yeah, I mean, new buildings that you,
yeah.
the Missouri Bottom Road, going by where I used to go to school, Garrett School. Well, you can't go down that way anymore because of something about the street
Oh,
or
okay.
whenever they built the subdivision, the factories and that down here. Why then it took something away from that hill, and they said that the hill isn't
Yeah.
passable anymore.
Yeah, it was kind of questionable all along, but.
Long, yeah, that's,
And I guess that it was a safety issue.
well, see, that's where Garrett School was, so
Uh-huh.
we'd have to come down that big hill.
Yeah.
And then we'd go down through Missouri Bottom, and then we'd have to cut through, and
Was that right on Missouri Bottom, right at the corner of Dunn, or was that
No.
in a subdivision?
well, yes, it would have
It
been,
was down, what is it, Santa Maria or something like that?
I think so, I
It was
think
near
that's-
that, well, there was a Catholic church along there in later years. Lady Mercy, which is
Oh,
closed
yes,
now.
yes. See,
But
that
it was on that same
Yeah,
street.
no,
yeah.
no, because that's where Bob's mother and sister and brother went, that was
Uh-huh.
up there off of Dunn Road.
Yeah. Okay, but nearby.
Yes, sure. Boy, when you stop at to think of all those things, it just got my head spinning, because
Yeah,
I don't know what they call those places, because I never pay attention anymore.
Mhm.
We're going up Dunn
Yeah,
Road.
you just know how to get there.
Mosier's Hill, or we called it Mosier's Hill, which was, I guess, a farmer that had the property, so they just called it Mosier's Hill, and then we got up to the Dunn's, and then that was Dunn's Hill, and
Mhm. Yeah, well, we lived out in, almost by a chain of rocks when I was a kid, and when we would want to go someplace south of the city, we would begin on Dunn Road, and, that started way north.
oh, be darn, yeah.
And it's still called Dunn Road now.
Yes, it is, it is.
And that would hook up to something else that eventually took us to Chippewa, and we went out.
Yeah,
That was Highway 66.
that's right, Highway 66, that went through Florissant too, didn't it? Did Florissant?
Yeah, it went over through Chain of Rocks and then through the city.
Okay, yeah. that's
It had a bypass that went out further, hooked onto Dunn Road.
Yeah, to get to Dunn Road,
Yeah.
know that?
And let's see, what's the other family over there?
Off of Tassin,
Oots, I'm thinking.
you're thinking,
Oots, UTZ, did you know any of those folks?
I did it one time, but they all moved
Was that right?
away, and offhand, I can't think of any of the names. I'm trying to think of as you go off from Dunn Road,
Mm-hmm.
who was living someplace down on the Sling.
You know, those street names will be around for generations to remind
I just wonder,
people
yeah.
of what it used to be like.
Well, that's right, and it's all not subdivision anymore, it's not farms, so,
Yeah,
you know, it's hard to put in your mind who lives where, and, you know, you do say Dunn Road or Hoots Lane and that, and I know people that lived on Hoots Lane, but I don't think if you'd say the name, I'd probably remember, but I can't remember right now, because there isn't too many people live down there. The Ford plant's, you know, was right across from it.
Does the name Shuey ring any bells with you?
Shuey?
S-H-U-E-Y? I know a lady named Shuey whose maiden name is Utz.
Shuey, that does, but tell me a little bit, that's a Flarson name, isn't it?
I'm not sure, but I worked with her over in St. Charles for a few years, and
Shuey, there was a Dr. Shuey.
oh, was that right?
That's right, he lived off of, yes, that was off of Dunn Road and, not Dunn Road, Hoots Lane, and
Yeah, Lindbergh and
my dad, as I heard, bought a house off of that Hoots Lane. It was an old concrete, not brick, it was like a 2 or 3 story house there. And I know when the subdivisions started coming in, why, that was Dr. Shuey's and his son's home off of that road. But I don't know what happened to the subdivision, you know, that all got tangled up. You have to come in from a different direction and that. I haven't been on Hoots Lane, that little piece that Bob worked with.
it still goes through from Lindbergh to McDonald Boulevard.
From Lambert, does it?
You can go all the way through. I don't think it's heavily traveled.
I don't know, I guess it's just for the people around there.
Yeah.
But that's Shuey, that's why I knew that name. It was a Dr. Shuey that lived there, him and his son, I think.
All right, well, thanks for sharing that with us. One of the questions I'm surprised you haven't asked yet, because everybody else asked this as their first question, is what are we going to do with all this information that we're collecting? And there's not a single answer to that. The most immediate thing we're doing is producing a DVD, which is a 1-hour movie that is playable on any personal computer or a home TV. And, you know, those things have a very long lifetime. So
I thought probably you would cut out the parts that you want.
Well, we may do some editing.
That's what I thought.
But the first step is to get the information down, and then we will distribute it in a number of forms. The library is very interested in having a collection of the interviews available for people to look at or check out as regular library materials. And of course, we have a library branch in Bridgeton, Bridgeton Trails over on McKelvey Road. And the librarian who's over there is, the head librarian there is also on a historical commission. And she's really anxious to get some of that material.
I imagine.
So that would be one way. But
well, now, did you ever get a chance to interview Margie? She was a Mareschal too. The one that the name is for up here. You know?
No, I don't know how to get hold of Margie.
Oh boy, I don't know.
What's her last name?
Let me think of what her last name is now. And she lived right here, her mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see.
Okay. Well, if you think of that later, or if you have it in your phone book at home, you can call me with it.
I talk so much that I can't even think of her married name.
Uh-huh.
Grelle, Grelle.
Grele.
then.
Really? There's a lot of those out in Florissant.
That's
I went
where-
to school
that's-
with one at McBride.
Oh, did you?
In fact, two of them, Rich and Jack. Really?
Now,
they
let's
say.
see, what was her husband's name? Bud. I don't, and he was a farmer out that direction.
Uh-huh.
And what's the name of those roads out there?
I don't know, I think maybe they lived in Spanish Lake.
Well, it is
I forget.
Spanish Lake, but wasn't there a street or something?
Well, Bell Fountain Road and Spanish Pond Road.
She lives right out there,
Mhm.
and her husband passed away. They had a farm out there also, and I think they sold some of the
Yeah.
ground off for different things.
Well, yeah, this county didn't start out being
No,
subdivisions.
that's right, that's right. But she would, I'm sure she'd be interested,
Okay.
because, like I said, they lived right here, you know, her mom and dad,
Okay.
well, they lived up on Gist Road, and they had a farm up there.
Uh-huh.
And that home that they lived in, there's a gentleman that bought that, and he still lived up there, and he's the only human being up there on that Gist Road. I mean, they tore all the houses down, you know?
Yeah,
And I guess, I don't know, I said I would be scared to death.
that's just on the other side of 270, is that right? Is that the house you're talking about?
I don't know if you
Just
go
west.
up Gist Road, I know I'm up there, but 270, let's see.
You go over the highway.
Yes, I think he's the only house up there, I think you're right.
There used to be a nursing home over there, right near that house, or some kind of home.
I can't remember how.
Of course, it's all gone
That's
now,
what I
except
mean,
for that
it
one
was,
house.
it probably was, but I know.
You go down through a dip and then over the level train
Mhm.
crossing and
Yes.
come out on Taussig Road.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. And he's the only man, you know, up there.
Mhm.
I know he stopped last year.
Yeah.
The son puts corn,
Uh-huh.
all different things out. He's a city farmer.
And do you remember their name? Or that's what you were trying to think of?
Grayling.
No, oh, is that who it is? Okay.
But anyhow, she came by and talked and that, but like I said, they farmed up there. And then, let's see she's friend to the Murphys. Well, I don't know what their married name is now.
The Murphys, did you say?
Pardon?
Did you say Murphys?
Murphys.
Okay.
There was a Dell in Virginia, and Virginia's still living. She lives in those homes up there by Bob's mother's home, but Adele died, and she lived on Missouri Bottom Road, is just where the incline is, where
Uh-huh.
you go down there into the new shopping mall.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they moved into that home. Well, Adele did too, until she, passed on, but.
Okay, that's all pretty interesting stuff.
Well, I don't know if it is or not, but
Yeah.
maybe if I get the wits together
Yeah.
and talk it over with Bob, maybe I can, he's really got a good memory. I'm telling you, even some of our cousins and that, he can remember. And like I said, we got in 52, but his parents' home farm was down where Mom and Dad's down, I call it Missouri Bottom,
Mhm.
where we grew up as a kid. So he knows a lot of history, like Margie Marshall's, she's relation, and her dad and Bob's cousin, uncles were relation. So she got to know, a little bit about each
Yeah.
other.
And you're always going to weddings and
That's
funerals
right,
and
that's right.
christenings
See him
and
and
everything.
think, oh, how old did you get? Boy,
Yeah.
oh boy, I must be getting old too.
Yeah.
I know I am. I can't believe how. And Ed's mind, Jenny's dad, his mind was just as sharp as
Yeah.
a tack when he'd see
Yeah.
in church and all that. He could, and Dad really had, and Dad talked French, as I remember.
Uh-huh.
We never spoke it. Well, Mom said when she married Dad that she'd go out to the barn or out in the garden or someplace because they talked French constantly, him and his brothers.
Uh-huh.
And so she didn't know a word of it. So she'd sit out there and whatever, I guess, sing or whatever she wanted to do. But
Yeah.
they never did. My kids could speak French because they took it in school, but there was never conversation among the three of them that
Yeah.
took it. But
Well, and those people probably came from the Florissant area, right?
yeah, right.
The original downtown Bridgeton was all French.
Yeah, I think, yes, but I don't know if they spoke very much,
Well, they gave the town a French name.
Yes, they did, but people that I knew up there, like were St. Mary's,
Uh-huh.
and they had French names, but I don't know if they ever spoke
Yeah,
French.
uh-huh.
But Dad's probably was a slang, because I know Gary took it at the Smith, and he couldn't understand Dad. He could understand him, but Dad, like I said, it was a slang of
Yeah.
French, and Gary could figure it out after a
Not
while.
Parisian. Yeah.
Dad loved those kids, boy, I'm telling you, he wouldn't have it any other. Those kids went over to their house morning, noon, and night. It was fine with him, come on in, it was kids to talk to. And then he'd knock on the window when the kids was little. And I'd say, Dad, they're still in bed, well, I want to wake them up. So he'd go in there and wake them up. He just loved those grandkids. So that was good to know. It was always good to know.
And there were plenty of Germans that came along later, and a lot of the well-known names in Bridgeton now are German names.
German names, that's right, that's true. But no, the French always, Dad really, when he was born down there off Missouri, and I guess they were young, and he'd say, we go to Florissant, he said, the Dutch, the Germans, they all lived up at the top of the hill. And the French would come in at the bottom. There was a great big park there. And I guess they all got, when they were young, they'd get in. And he'd say the French would chase the Germans up the hill. And then the next time they'd go, the Germans would come down the hill and chase the French home. And isn't that funny? Now you can remember, I can remember that.
Yeah.
Some of those questions you're asking me, I can't even remember.
But these were kids chasing each other.
Yeah, they're teenagers, they go to that, there was a park there, and I think it's still there.
Is that right at the bottom of where Charbonnier comes to a halt?
I think-
It makes a real sharp.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think-
there's a county park or something.
And so that's what he said, they'd all get, I guess, if they wanted horses or whatever, maybe
And
they'd walk.
The Tesson, however they say,
Tesson.
they're still active in the sod business down there.
Yes, well,
And I guess other farming as well.
the boys were down there in the sod, but like Elmer and his brothers, they passed on. Elmer was a good friend of Bob's, they went to school together.
Is that a Hollenberg?
No, Tizan.
Oh, Tesson, okay.
And so they had some good times down there too. But like I said, the sod, Elmer has two sons. That was in the garden. They had the hot houses and that. And then they went into the sod business, I think. I don't know how much ground they have anymore. I can't remember Pauline talking about, but we're really good friends with them. We visit and we go over to St. Charles to the gambling, and then we go to picnics together still. But Elmer died about 40 years ago. He was quite a character. He always had something funny to say.
Well, there's a lot of characters around,
Yes, there are.
and a lot of people are real quiet until you get them talking, and then they come up
And
with
then you
really,
find out
really
a lot
great
of
stories.
things,
Yeah.
don't you? Yeah, that's right.
So you just never know.
No, you don't. No, you don't. So you lived over at, where did you tell me?
When I was a kid, I lived just barely in the city of St. Louis, near Halls Ferry Circle.
I remember them talking about the Halls Ferry Circle. Didn't they do a lot of gardening and sell gardening things in the circle?
There was
Stores
always a garden shop right
Yes,
there on the circle.
I think they sold a lot of their produce there, probably different ones, I don't know, not my family, but I remember going there. And there was a real good dining area there. We would take the kids at the circle I can't think.
Well, there was a Steak and Shake there.
No, it was a night.
Good dining.
See, Bob would remember that, I can't remember, because they've been out of business. I think it finally was the lady, you know, the husband and wife owned it, and then the lady had
Wasn't an Italian restaurant, was
No, I don't think so. Boy, I can't think of it, but that was an extra birthday present for the kids if they wanted, you know, go someplace different, so we take them there. And I can't even think of the name of it, but I thought that was Round Circle.
it? There was a well-known chicken place, Romine's.
That's the
Okay.
one, that's the one, that's where we
Yeah,
were.
that was probably about 2 miles from the circle,
Mhm.
and you would drive past our house to get there.
Oh, really? Really? Isn't that something? Yeah.
Yeah, that's still a business.
Yes, no, it's,
Romine's.
isn't it, didn't it close?
I don't know. Last time I was by it, it looked like it was open.
I think it's closed, because I know Bob and I had been there. It was still, I'm not sure, but I think that it's, and as Bob, like I said, his mother was a school teacher, Rosary School that turned into Hazelwood. And they would always have their picnics up there at the park. And I can remember everybody have, some of the farmers that have trucks, you know, put the kids, you wouldn't do that nowadays, but they would take the kids up there to the park and have a good day.
We always had a school picnic from when I went to grade school, and we always came out here to Westlake.
You did?
And from the people I've talked to in Bridgeton, when they went on school picnic, they would always go to Chain of Rocks.
That's where,
So it's like the bus companies were
that's right.
doing something there.
See that house, well, it's not there now, but Dad's property was on that hill across from, well,
It's complicated with 270 being there.
and Westlake was right next to him. When he bought that piece of ground, that was up there by Luke's. Luke's lived there, and Brannick's. I don't know, Dad always was looking for property to buy. He had that whole hill on the opposite side. I think there was 40-some acres there,
Yeah. And the other side of what now?
on the highway, next to the highway.
Oh, okay, right near the Natural Bridge Junction. Okay.
No, yes,
Okay.
up farther, you know. So, I don't know, he was always adventurous and buying farms.
You remember going to Grandpa Pigeon's when they were there?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, Roy Brannicky, Roy Swantner told us some interesting stories about working there when he was a kid.
At Brannick, I think it
At
was
Grandpa's, yeah.
Grandpa's, yeah, that was quite an ordeal for that to come in. I mean, for
Yeah.
Grandpa, I mean, you had something close to go to, you didn't have to either go to, you know, St. Charles or
Yeah.
someplace else, you had a close by little.
And they just tore the new Grandpa's building down.
Mm-hmm.
I took pictures of that a few days ago.
Okay, now, are they really gonna move that, what did they say is gonna build there?
There's a
Walmart.
super Walmart store
That's
going
what's
in there,
going-
that's gonna
See,
replace the St. Anne's.
And you know, you'll forget about that 10 years from now. My
Mhm.
kids will say, I don't remember where Grandpa Pigeon was, but yeah, they changed.
Well, I've got a picture of the building that's just almost completely destroyed, but you can still read the address.
Yes,
So that'll be a keepsake.
that will be a keepsake, yes.
But nothing lasts forever.
No, that's the thing. That's why I said, when I'm talking about like Missouri Bottom Road, I have to
Yeah.
think, you know, where it ended up all the way on Natural Bridge in those days. That's all changed too, in the airport.
Yeah.
And I just hate to get on, see, we went to St. Mary's Church,
Mhm.
and you just knew, you know, you'd get on the highway and then you'd go down to Woods Lane and that, well, you know, that's all gone. There's
Yeah.
no telltale, nothing.
Yeah, I took Jenny on a little ride a few days ago, and I researched ahead of time on the map
Mm-hmm.
to see where the golf, had never been to the golf course, Berry Hill, which is a Bridgeton
Yes,
Park.
okay, yes.
And then there's a St. Mary Cemetery right near there. I assume that's relocated cemetery.
Well, no, there's.
Or has it always been over
That
there?
was always there, Bob's parents is
Okay.
there.
Well, that's harder to find than it used to be probably,
Yes,
but
it
it's
is,
still there.
yes, it is, And it's funny, when we go there, we never go, like you're talking, we go from the highway down in.
To McDonald Boulevard, yeah. Do you remember that really scary railroad trestle that was there? I think right at the corner of Fifi and McDonald.
Yes,
You know, it looked like it would collapse when you were driving across it.
That's
long gone,
long gone, I know, that's true.
and we don't miss that.
Well, we did, I guess, if you think back, you miss it.
Yeah.
But, it's been over and done with for so long, like I said.
And did you shop at Berkey's Market?
No, Bob's parents did. But
Okay.
no.
You know where that was?
Yes,
Past the railroad underpass on.
and those two girls just died not too awfully long
Okay.
ago.
Yeah, John just passed away in March.
Yes. And Bob and I had just talked to her not too long, I'd say maybe a year. Do we have to get up?
We, I think, have done a really good job.
Well, I don't think I have to in my mind. I'm a little nervous of thinking of.
You've done much better than I have.
No, I don't think so. But like I said, when you have to think back, you know when you're driving, you know, this is Missouri Bottom Road, or this is Gist Road, or, but whenever you have to stop and think for a minute, you forget really where you're at.
Yeah.
So, like
You have
I
to get
said,
oriented.
yeah.
Okay, well, let me thank you, Evelyn, very much for your time.
Well,
this morning.
I'm sorry that I messed this up because Bob would have been willing to come because he said, you shouldn't have called. I said, well, they've been calling forever. And my house was so tore up that I said, oh my God, I'll have to go there because the sheets was out, they was in the washer and everything. And he was mopping up the basement floor because like I said, there was water that came in and we never have water in our basement, but it just must have been something clogged up, you know, the drain or some darn thing. So he said, I can't go today. I said, put a clean shirt and pants on and we won't be there. No, I gotta go get this part and that part, whatever. So I said, oh, okay, if they need you, I'll have them to call you.
Okay.
Because he probably, like I said, knows more about it than.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, I thank you.